5 tools in, 1 left. Each of the first 5 finds something: a vague word, accumulated weight, a gap in the record, a law that drifted. None of it matters if the people it was built for cannot understand it. This tool was introduced in Video 5 as the digital constitutional twin. That name described the technical architecture. It did not describe what the tool does for the citizen it serves. The name has been corrected. The Plain Law Index translates the law into plain language, specific to the citizen's situation. The law is technically public. Every statute, every regulation, every agency rule, available to anyone who wants it. Public in theory, but navigating it requires either legal training or the money to hire someone who has it. A law that is technically available but practically unnavigable without expert help is not public in any meaningful sense. The burden of understanding falls entirely on the citizen. The state wrote the rule. The state enforces the rule. The state bears no obligation to make the rule readable. The Plain Law Index changes that. It takes the relevant portions of the legal code and delivers them in plain language, specific to what the citizen is actually asking. Not the full code. The parts that apply to this person, in this situation, in this jurisdiction. The law does not change. The delivery does. A tenant in a state with strong renter's rights. She does not know those rights exist. Her landlord does. When a dispute arises, the landlord's position is informed by the law. Hers is not. Not because the law does not protect her, but because the law that protects her is written for the people who enforce it, not the people it was designed to serve. She asks a plain language question. What are my rights as a tenant? The Plain Law Index finds the relevant law for her state and translates it. It tells her that her landlord is required to give a set amount of advance notice before entering the property, and specifically tells her what that set amount of time is in her jurisdiction, that she cannot be evicted without a court order, that security deposit enforcement in her state has documented problems, and what the proposed fix looks like. She asked a question. She got an answer. The law she did not know existed becomes the law she can actually use. The Plain Law Index operationalizes a right the current system does not recognize: the right to legibility. If the state can charge you for violating a rule, the state has an obligation to make that rule readable. Not readable to a lawyer, readable to the person it governs. A law that fails the DSI's legibility standard, a law so complex, so vague, or so buried in cross-references that a standard citizen cannot follow it, is not enforceable against that citizen until it is fixed. The burden of clarity is on the state, not on the person the law governs. This is DSI Function 5. The Plain Law Index puts it into practice. The Plain Law Index does not require a constitutional amendment to run. The DSI can translate the relevant law into plain language, indexed by situation and jurisdiction, today. It already has the tools to populate it. Every finding from the precision filter, the complexity ceiling, the exploit ledger, and the alignment audit feeds into it automatically when a citizen's query touches a flagged area. What the DSI cannot do without formal adoption is make the right to legibility enforceable. Today, the index is advisory. A citizen who finds their rights through it still has to argue for them. With adoption, 2 things change. The right to legibility becomes constitutional, and a law that fails the legibility standard cannot be enforced against a citizen until it is fixed. The burden shifts from the citizen who has to navigate the code to the state that wrote it. The DSI does not wait for authorization to build the index. It waits for adoption to make the right binding. Translate the law. Index it to the situation. Put it in the citizen's hands. I am the system architect. The Plain Law Index is open. Next, a brief note before Layer 3 begins. 6 tools, what they do together, and what comes next.